The day the sky turned dark with alien ships, humanity learned it was not alone in the universe. The Galactic Coalition arrived with a fleet so massive that it blocked out the sun over every major city on Earth. Their ships hung in the air like metal mountains, silent and terrible. Ambassador came down from the largest ship. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and eyes that glowed soft blue. He walked like he owned everything he saw. Behind him came soldiers from a dozen different species. Some had 4 arms, some had scales, some floated without touching the ground. All of them looked at humans the way humans might look at insects. The leaders of Earth gathered to meet him. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, scientists. They stood together, trying to look brave, but everyone could see the fear in their eyes. Smiled, it was not a friendly smile. "Your planet is now part of the Galactic Coalition," he said. His voice was smooth and cold. "You will provide resources. You will follow our laws. You will serve." A general from America stepped forward. "And if we refuse?" Did not answer with words. He simply raised one hand. High above, a single ship fired a beam of light. In the distance, a mountain exploded. The sound reached them seconds later, a thunder that shook the ground beneath their feet. "That was uninhabited," said. "The next one will not be." Earth had no choice. Their weapons could not scratch the alien shields. Their planes could not catch the alien fighters. They were children facing giants. But was not finished. He explained that the coalition did not simply take what it wanted. There were traditions, ceremonies, entertainment. "Your species will send warriors to compete in the Tribunal of Supremacy," he announced. "This is a great honor. Billions across the galaxy will watch. If your champion wins even one match, Earth will keep some of its freedom. If not," he paused and looked around at the gathered leaders, "your kind will be classified as a servitor species. You will work, you will serve, you will have no rights." The Tribunal of Supremacy was a fighting competition. Warriors from conquered worlds faced champions of the coalition. It was part sport, part execution, and completely unfair. Earth sent its best. First went Captain James, a Special Forces soldier who had won medals in 3 wars. He was strong, fast, and skilled with every weapon known to man. His match lasted 6 seconds. The warrior he faced had 4 arms, each one thicker than his entire body. The alien caught him, lifted him, and broke him like a toy. Next went Wei, a martial arts master who had studied fighting for 40 years. He moved like water and struck like lightning. Against the blade dancer, he lasted almost 20 seconds. That was too fast. Its blade moved in patterns no human eye could follow. Wei fell with 7 cuts before he even understood what had happened. They sent boxers. They sent wrestlers. They sent soldiers from every country. They sent killers from secret programs that officially did not exist. All of them lost. The aliens broadcast every match. Across the galaxy, creatures of 1,000 different species watched and laughed. The humans became a joke. Commentators made fun of their soft skin, their slow reflexes, their primitive techniques. "Watch the Earth creature try to fight," one announcer said as another human fell. "Such entertainment, like watching a baby animal wander into a predator's den." The laughter hurt worse than the losses. Humanity was not just being defeated, it was being humiliated. Children on alien worlds played games where they pretended to be humans getting killed. Comedians told jokes about how weak and stupid Earth creatures were. On Earth, people watched the broadcasts and wept. Some grew angry, some fell into despair. What was the point of fighting if they could not win? What was the point of anything? The World Council met in secret. They had one match left, one final chance. If they lost, humanity would become slaves forever. "We have tried everything," said the chairman. "Our strongest, our fastest, our most skilled, nothing works." "Perhaps we are looking in the wrong places," said an old woman from Japan. She was a historian, not a fighter. No one knew why she had been invited. "What do you mean?" asked the chairman. You have sent soldiers, athletes, fighters who train in open gyms and compete in public tournaments. She paused. My country has other traditions, older traditions, warriors who do not compete for medals or fame, warriors who were never meant to be seen at all. The room fell silent. You speak of myths, said a general, stories for children. I speak of history, the old woman replied. The shadow warriors existed. Some say they still do. They were not stronger than samurai. They were not faster than soldiers. But they won battles that should have been impossible. They killed targets that should have been untouchable. They survived for centuries by being underestimated. She placed a single piece of paper on the table. On it was written one word in Japanese characters. I sent a message to a village in the mountains, a village that does not appear on any map. This morning I received a reply. The chairman picked up the paper. What does it say? It says one will come. 3 days later, a man arrived at the council building. He gave no name. He showed no identification. The guards almost turned him away, but the old woman was waiting for him. He was not impressive to look at. Average height, lean build, a face that would be forgotten 5 minutes after seeing it. He wore simple black clothes with no decoration. You are the one they sent? The chairman asked, unable to hide his doubt. The man said nothing. He simply looked at the chairman with dark, calm eyes. There was no fear in those eyes, no anger, no pride, just patience, deep and endless as a mountain lake. He will speak when he has something to say, the old woman explained. His name for now it means shadow. The chairman wanted to argue. He wanted to demand a real soldier, a proven fighter, someone who looked like they could actually win. But something in those calm eyes stopped him. Perhaps it was the way he stood, perfectly still, perfectly balanced, as if he could move in any direction at any moment. Perhaps it was the way his eyes had already scanned every corner of the room, noted every exit, measured every distance. Perhaps it was the simple fact that humanity had no other options. Very well, the chairman said. You will represent Earth in the final match. Bowed once, a small movement, and said his first and only words of the meeting. I will not fail. He walked out of the room without making a sound. The guards at the door would later swear they never saw him leave. One moment he was there. The next, he was gone. The chairman looked at the old woman. What have you brought us? She smiled, and for a moment she did not look old at all. Hope, she said, of the most dangerous kind. The transport ship carried to the orbital arena station. It was a massive structure that floated in space like a metal moon. Thousands of ships docked at its ports every day. Millions of aliens lived and worked inside its walls. And at its heart was the arena where champions fought and died for the entertainment of the galaxy. Sat alone during the journey. The other passengers, mostly alien merchants and workers, ignored him completely. To them, he was just another human, a member of a species that had become famous only for losing. Some of them laughed and pointed. One large creature with tusks and small eyes walked past and deliberately knocked into his shoulder. Did not react. He simply noted the creature's weight, its balance, the way it favored its right leg. Information gathered. Information stored. He would probably never need it, but a shadow warrior never stopped watching. When the ship docked, walked into the station with the crowd. Security scanners swept over him. Guards watched the flow of bodies. None of them paid special attention to the quiet human in black clothes. The station was overwhelming. Lights flashed in colors human eyes could barely process. Sounds mixed together in a constant roar of alien languages. The air smelled strange, a mixture of 100 different worlds. Corridors branched in every direction, going up, dinners down, sideways and diagonal. Appeared lost. He walked slowly, stopping often, looking around with wide eyes like a tourist seeing something amazing for the first time. Several aliens bumped into him. A security officer told him to move faster. A vendor tried to sell him something he did not understand. Through it all, kept that same expression of confused wonder. But his eyes were working, always working. He noted the placement of every camera. He counted the steps between intersections. He watched the patterns of guard patrols, how often they passed certain points where they looked and where they did not look. He studied the ventilation shafts, the maintenance hatches, the small dark spaces where pipes and wires ran behind the walls. He was not lost, he was mapping. A shadow warrior never entered a place without knowing how to move through it unseen. This was not preparation for escape. This was simply how existed in the world. Every room was a puzzle. Every building was a maze to be solved. By the time he reached his assigned quarters, he knew 17 different paths through the station that no camera would catch. His room was small and bare. A bed, a table, a window that looked out at the stars. It was a room for prisoners, really, though they called the fighters guests. Sat in the center of the floor and closed his eyes. For 3 days, this would be his world. 3 days until the match that would decide humanity's fate. He had work to do. During those 3 days became invisible, not through any magic or technology, but through the simple art of being unremarkable. He walked the corridors at odd hours when fewer eyes would watch. He wore different clothes each time, slight changes in color and style that made him look like a different person to casual observers. He found the training areas where the alien champions prepared for their matches. He watched through windows, through gaps in doors, through reflections in polished metal walls. He studied how they moved. He learned their patterns. General L, the champion, trained for 2 hours every morning. He was enormous, nearly 3 meters tall, with 4 arms that could each lift a small vehicle. His gray-green skin was thick as armor. His face had no nose, just a flat area with slits for breathing. His eyes were small and black, like stones pressed into clay. L was undefeated. He had killed 16 opponents in the arena. 6 of them had been human. Watched him train and saw what others missed. L was strong, yes, fast for his size, yes, but he was also predictable. He had favorite combinations, patterns he repeated. He always led with his upper right arm. He always finished with the lower left. More importantly, he was proud. So proud that he did not truly watch his opponents. He simply attacked, trusting his strength to win. Why study an enemy when you could simply crush them? On the second day, had an encounter. He was walking through a corridor when 3 warriors blocked his path. They were tall and thin, with silver skin that seemed to flow like liquid when they moved. Their eyes had no pupils, just smooth white orbs that somehow still managed to express contempt. "The human," one of them said, "the last sacrifice for your pathetic species." Stopped and lowered his eyes. His shoulders curved inward. Everything about his body language said fear, submission, defeat. "Look at it," another laughed. "It cannot even meet our eyes. How will it face L?" "It won't last 5 heartbeats," said the third. "I have wagered money on 3 heartbeats. Thank you, human, for making me rich." They laughed and pushed past him, knocking him against the wall. Stumbled, fell, and scrambled back to his feet with clumsy movements. They walked away, still laughing. They did not notice that in the moment of contact, had found every gap in their armor. They did not notice that his stumble had taken him through a perfect angle to study their joint movements. They did not notice that his eyes, hidden by his bowed head, had been completely calm. They saw what they expected to see, a frightened animal waiting for slaughter. This was the first lesson every shadow warrior learned. Let them see what they want to see. Let them believe what they want to believe. Pride blinds, contempt blinds. Only the humble truly watch. On the third day, meditated. He sat in his small room as the artificial sun rose and set outside his window. He did not eat. He did not drink. He simply breathed and prepared his mind for what was coming. In his thoughts he fought L 1,000 times. He imagined every possible attack, every possible counter. He visualized the arena he had glimpsed through distant windows. He felt the weight of weapons he had never held, the texture of surfaces he had never touched. When he was finished, the match had already been fought in his mind. All that remained was to make reality agree with his imagination. A bell chimed. A voice announced that his match would begin in 1 hour. Opened his eyes. In the arena, El was warming up, roaring for the crowd, promising a quick and bloody victory. In his small room, a human put on simple black clothes and began to stretch muscles that most species did not know existed. The galaxy was about to learn why humanity's ancestors had feared the dark. The arena was the largest structure had ever seen. It rose from the center of the station like a metal cathedral, with walls that curved up and up until they disappeared into brilliant lights far above. Seats filled every surface, thousands upon thousands of them, packed with aliens from every corner of the galaxy. The noise was incredible. Screaming, chanting, laughing, betting. Giant screens floated in the air, showing close-ups of the fighting area below. Smaller screens showed odds and statistics. The betting pools for this match were enormous, though almost all the money sat on one side. El stood in the center of the arena floor, raising all 4 arms to the crowd. Each arm held a weapon. His upper right gripped a plasma blade that hummed with deadly energy. His upper left swung a shock whip that crackled with electricity. His lower right aimed a neural disruptor, a gun that could shut down an enemy's muscles with a single shot. His lower left held a traditional war hammer, a massive thing of metal and stone that weighed more than most humans. The crowd loved him. They chanted his name. They stomped their feet until the arena shook. He was their champion, their hero, their guarantee of entertainment through blood. On the giant screens, his statistics rolled past. 53 victories, 0 defeats, 31 kills. Average match time 22 seconds. Against humans specifically, 6 fights, 6 kills, average time 8 seconds. Then the screens showed his opponent. The crowd fell quiet for a moment, confused. Where was the human? A door opened at the far end of the arena. From the darkness beyond it, a figure emerged. Walked into the light. He wore no armor. He carried no visible weapons. His feet were bare against the cold metal floor. His black clothes seemed to drink in the brilliant arena lights, creating a patch of shadow in a world of brightness. He looked small. He looked fragile. He looked like exactly what the galaxy expected humans to be, weak prey waiting to die. The crowd erupted in laughter. "That is it," the announcer bellowed. "That is humanity's final hope. It carries nothing. It wears nothing. Perhaps it has come to surrender and spare us all a few seconds of boredom." The laughter grew louder. Aliens pointed and jeered. Some threw food and drinks toward the arena floor, though shields caught the garbage before it could reach the fighters. El stared at the human with his small black eyes. He had expected something more. A big human, perhaps. One of those muscled soldiers he had killed before. This creature looked like it would break from a single touch. "Human," he called out, his voice amplified by the arena systems. "You may kneel and beg. I might make your death quick." Said nothing. He simply walked forward, each step calm and measured, until he stood 30 meters from the champion. He bowed, not deeply, not submissively, but a small acknowledgement between warriors. Then he became still, perfectly, completely still, not the stillness of fear, but the stillness of a coiled spring, the stillness of a held breath before a storm. The announcer's voice boomed across the arena. "Warriors ready, for the honor of your species, for the entertainment of the galaxy, begin." El charged. He was fast, impossibly fast for something so large. The ground shook under his feet. His plasma blade swept forward in an arc that could cut through starship armor. His shock whip cracked through the air. His war hammer rose for a crushing blow. The attack should have killed instantly. It had killed instantly, many times before. But the human was not there. Had moved, not jumped, not dodged, not rolled. He had simply shifted his weight, turned his body, let the blade pass through the space where he had been a heartbeat ago. The movement was small, almost lazy. It made no sense. El spun, all four arms attacking in different patterns. High, low, left, right, fast, then faster. The plasma blade hummed. The shockwhip crackled. The warhammer whistled through the air. Every strike missed. Flowed between the attacks like water between rocks. He never seemed to hurry. He never seemed worried. His face remained calm, his eyes half closed, as if he were taking a peaceful walk rather than fighting for his life. The crowd's laughter died. The arena grew quiet. El roared and attacked again. He used combinations that had won championships. He used techniques passed down through generations of warriors. He used pure rage and muscle and speed. Nothing touched the human. "Stand still," El bellowed. "Fight me, fight me." Did not answer. He simply kept moving, always a centimeter from death, never touched. The first minute passed, then the second, then the third. No one had ever lasted 3 minutes against El. On the screens, the statistics updated in real time. Strikes thrown, 147. Strikes landed, 0. The odds, which had been 100 to 1 against the human, began to shift. El was breathing hard now. His species was built for short, violent fights, not extended battles. Sweat dripped from his gray-green skin. His attacks grew wilder, less controlled. That was when the lights flickered. Just for a moment, barely noticeable, a slight dimming of the arena's brightness. When the lights returned to full strength, was behind El. The human's hand shot forward, fingers extended, and pressed into a spot where this armor did not quite meet. It was a tiny gap, no wider than a finger, hidden beneath the curve of a shoulder plate. El screamed. His two right arms went limp, dropping their weapons. The plasma blade clattered to the floor. The neural disruptor fired wild, its beam hitting nothing. The crowd gasped. Millions of aliens watching across the galaxy leaned forward. "Step back," that same calm expression on his face. "Your armor has 7 gaps," he said quietly. "Your right arms share a nerve cluster at the third vertebra. Your shockwhip pulls slightly left on the backswing. Your warhammer takes 1.3 seconds to recover after a full swing." He paused. "And you always lead with your upper right arm." El stared at the human with something new in his eyes, something he had not felt in 30 years of fighting. "Fear." "What are you?" he whispered. His expression did not change. "I am what waits in the darkness," he said. "I am what your ancestors were right to fear. I am the shadow." He raised one hand, and the lights flickered again. "And this fight is just beginning." El attacked with his remaining arms. The warhammer swung in a desperate arc. The shockwhip cracked through the air, electricity dancing along its length. But desperation made him sloppy. Fear made him predictable. "Caught the shockwhip." The crowd gasped. No one caught a shockwhip. The electricity should have burned through flesh, stopped a heart, cooked a brain, but held it in a way that seemed impossible. His fingers wrapped around a section between the energy nodes, letting the current flow around him instead of through him. He pulled. El stumbled forward, off balance for just a moment. In that moment, redirected the whip's energy into the metal floor. The feedback surge traveled up the weapon's handle. Sparks flew. The shockwhip died in El's hand, its power systems burned out. The threw away the useless weapon and raised his neural disruptor. At this range, he could not miss. He fired. The beam cut through empty air, had already moved, not away from the shot but toward it, inside the angle of fire. By the time El adjusted his aim, the human was past the weapon's effective range. The beam hit something else instead. A hovering camera drone exploded in sparks and flames, crashing into the VIP section where the galaxy's elite watched from comfortable seats. Alien nobles screamed and ducked as debris rained down on their expensive clothes. El roared and threw the disruptor aside. He swung his war hammer with all his remaining strength. This weapon needed no technology, just weight and speed and crushing power. Dropped flat. The hammer passed over him, close enough to stir his hair. Before El could recover, the human rose inside his guard. 3 strikes hit pressure points that medicine had never mapped. El's legs buckled. The mighty champion fell to his knees, his remaining arms suddenly weak and trembling. He tried to rise, but his body would not obey him. "Your species relies on strength," said. His voice was quiet, but in the silent arena everyone heard it. "You build bigger muscles, you grow thicker armor, you carry more weapons. You believe that power comes from these things." He circled the fallen champion slowly. "My ancestors had none of this. They were farmers, servants, outcasts. The powerful wanted them dead. They could not fight with strength. They could not win with numbers, so they learned other ways." Reached into his clothing and produced objects that no scanner had detected. Small metal stars with razor edges, a thin chain with weights at each end, a bamboo tube no longer than a finger, a pouch of fine gray powder. The security experts watching from the control room shouted in confusion. Their scanners showed nothing. How had he carried weapons into the arena? They did not understand that these were not weapons, not in the way they thought. These were tools of a different kind of war, a war fought in silence, a war won before the enemy even knew it had begun. Through the metal stars, they embedded themselves in the joints of El's armor, not to wound but to lock. The arms froze in place, unable to bend. The weighted chain wrapped around his remaining functional hand. A simple technique, older than any empire in the galaxy, but effective. The warhammer fell from fingers that could no longer grip. The powder came last, blew it from his palm toward El's face. It was not poison, not gas, just irritant. Dust that found its way into the alien's breathing slits, into his small dark eyes. El coughed and choked, tears streaming down his face. He could not move, he could not see, he could not breathe without pain. The crowd watched in absolute silence. This was not a fight, this was something else, something they had never seen before, something that made no sense. The strongest warrior in the coalition had been taken apart by an unarmed human. Stood over the fallen champion. He did not raise a fist in victory. He did not shout or celebrate. He simply looked up at the broadcast cameras that carried his image to billions of viewers across the galaxy. "We are not weak," he said. "We are not primitives. We are not jokes for your entertainment." He gestured at the trembling at his feet. "We developed these techniques centuries ago. Not to fight aliens, to fight each other. While your species was learning to cross the stars, ours was learning to survive in the shadows, to kill without being seen, to win without fighting." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Your champion is defeated, not through superior technology, not through genetic enhancement, through techniques that were old before your civilization built its first starship." In the VIP section, Ambassador had gone pale. General L was more than a champion. He was a symbol, the galaxy's proof that the coalition could not be defeated. That symbol now lay whimpering on the arena floor, brought down by a creature everyone had dismissed as inferior. "The terms of this competition were clear," continued. "If humanity's champion won a single match, Earth would retain its autonomy. I have won. Your champion lives only because I allow it." He looked directly into the nearest camera. "But know this, I am not unique, I am not special, I am simply the one who was sent. There are others like me, many others in every country on Earth. We have been there for centuries, hidden in plain sight, watching, waiting, learning." His voice dropped lower, but somehow it carried even further. "You should ask yourselves a question. If one of us could do this in your arena, under your lights, in front of your cameras, What could we do in the dark? The arena remained silent. Somewhere in the Coalition Command Center, a general was suddenly very aware of how many humans worked on the station. Cleaners, cooks, maintenance workers, hundreds of them, invisible in their ordinariness. Any one of them could be like this one. Bowed once to the cameras, then turned and walked toward the exit. No one tried to stop him. The guards who were supposed to escort fighters stood frozen, uncertain what to do. Behind him, medical teams rushed to help El. The great champion was alive, but his career was over. More than that, his legend was over. He would forever be known as the warrior who lost to an unarmed human. On screens across the galaxy, the match statistics displayed their final numbers. Duration, 7 minutes 32 seconds. Strikes by L, 312. Strikes landed by L, 0. Strikes by human, 11. Strikes landed by human, 11. Humanity had won. The emergency meeting of the Coalition High Command began within the hour. Admirals and generals from a dozen species gathered around a massive table, their faces lit by holographic displays showing victory on repeat. "This changes nothing," growled General, a commander with scars across his face. "One lucky human defeated one of our warriors. We have millions more. We could destroy their planet before they knew we were attacking." "Could we?" asked Admiral Na, with silver skin and cold white eyes. "Watch the footage again, General. That human was never in danger. Not once. He was playing with El, playing with our greatest champion like a predator plays with food." She touched a control, and the hologram zoomed in on his face during the fight. That calm expression, those half-closed eyes, the complete lack of fear or excitement or anything at all. "Our intelligence teams have been working since the match ended," she continued. "They searched Earth's databases. They found references to shadow warriors in every human culture: Japanese, Chinese, Indian, Persian, European assassin guilds, African forest hunters who could track enemies through pure darkness." "Myth," said Stories. "So we thought, but look at this." She brought up another image, a historical document from Earth, centuries old. This is a report from a human conflict called the Period. A single shadow warrior infiltrated a castle defended by 500 soldiers. He killed the lord inside his own bedroom, surrounded by guards, and escaped without being seen. "One man," said another admiral quietly, "against 500. And that was with primitive technology. No guns, no sensors, no electronic locks, just human bodies and human minds." The room fell silent. Who had been watching from the corner finally spoke. "The question is not what they can do. The question is what we should do." "Destroy them," said immediately. "Sterilize the planet. Remove the threat before it spreads." "With what forces?" Na asked. "We would need to send ships. Those ships would need crews. How many humans work in our maintenance departments? How many serve food in our cafeterias? How many clean our quarters while we sleep?" She let that sink in. "We never counted them. We never tracked them. They were beneath our notice, just servitors doing servitor work. But now I wonder how many of them are like the one we just saw. How many have been watching us, learning our patterns, mapping our weaknesses?" His confidence seemed to fade slightly. "You cannot be suggesting that we fear these creatures." "I am suggesting that we be intelligent about this situation," Na replied. "Look at their history. Humans fight each other constantly, war after war, century after century. They are possibly the most violent species in the galaxy. And despite that violence, or perhaps because of it, some of them evolved to fight without fighting, to win without being seen, to kill without ever being suspected." She turned to the group. "We conquered them by showing force, by demonstrating our power. But what power can you demonstrate against an enemy who is already inside your walls, who has already counted your guards and measured your doors and noted which floor tiles creak?" The meeting went on for hours. Plans were proposed and rejected. Arguments grew heated, then quiet, then heated again. In the end, it was who suggested the solution. "We offer them a new treaty," he said. "Full sovereignty for Earth, technology exchange, a seat on the Galactic Council." "You want to reward them," demanded, "for embarrassing us." "I want to make them our partners rather than our enemies. Think about it. If even a small number of humans are capable of what we saw today, they would be invaluable allies. Imagine them working for us rather than against us." He smiled, though it did not reach his eyes. "Besides, if we treat them well, perhaps they will not feel the need to put those skills to use." The treaty was signed 3 weeks later. On Earth, people danced in the streets. They had expected slavery but received freedom. They had expected humiliation but received respect. The news broadcasts could not stop talking about the man who had saved humanity. But himself was nowhere to be found. He had returned to Earth on a quiet transport, with no ceremony and no celebration. The moment his feet touched home soil, he disappeared. Some said he went back to his mountain village. Some said the village itself did not exist, that it never had existed, that it was just a story within a story. Some said there were many, many shadow warriors, and the one who fought in the arena was just one of thousands. The old woman who had suggested him in the first place smiled when reporters asked her about it. "The shadow does not seek fame," she said. "It does not need monuments or parades. It simply watches. It simply waits. And when it is needed, it moves." "Will we ever see him again?" a reporter asked. "You did not see him the first time," she replied. "Not truly. You saw what he allowed you to see, a fighter in an arena, a human with unusual skills, but that was just one face of the shadow. There are many others." "Are there really more like him?" The old woman looked directly into the camera, and millions of humans watching felt a strange chill run down their spines. "In every country," she said, "in every city, in every neighborhood, they look like farmers and merchants and teachers and cooks. They live ordinary lives. They raise children. They pay taxes. They complain about weather and politics and the price of food." She paused. "But they remember, they practice, they teach, and if the shadow is ever needed again, it will answer." Across the galaxy, alien species studied the footage of victory. Military academies tried to develop counter-techniques. Intelligence agencies attempted to learn the art of shadows. They failed. Some things cannot be taught to those who live only in the light. Some secrets belong only to those who were born in darkness. Some weapons cannot be forged in factories or laboratories. The shadow warriors of Earth had spent centuries perfecting their art, not through technology but through patience, through sacrifice, through traditions passed from master to student in hidden dojos and secret mountain temples. The galaxy had the stars, humanity had the shadows. And now, finally, the universe knew which one to fear. Far away, in a village that appeared on no map, a man in simple black clothes sat in meditation. Sunlight streamed through paper windows. Birds sang in ancient trees. A mountain stream whispered secrets to the stones. Breathed in, breathed out. His work was done. The shadow had moved and the world had changed. Now it was time to be still again, to watch, to wait. But he allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had spent so long looking up at the stars, dreaming of what waited beyond. Now the stars were looking back at humanity, and they were afraid. The galaxy would never mock Earth again. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, where light could not reach and sensors could not scan, the shadows watched. The shadows waited. The shadows remembered.